Hi, everyone. My name is Erin Chastain, and I am here with Access ASU to talk to you about the hero's journey. Have you heard of hero's journey before? Better yet, have you ever read a book or watched a movie where the hero goes on an adventure, wins a victory, and comes home transformed? If you have, then you've already experienced hero's journey. Who knew? At the end of this workshop, you will understand the main stages of the hero's journey and how to use them in your own development. Let's get started. We're going to start with a quick reflect and write activity. I want you to list 5 to 10 of your favorite movies. Can be all different genres, doesn't matter. And then next to the film title, I want you to write a theme or a lesson that your movies teach. So for example, one of my favorite movies is Singing in the Rain, and a theme from this movie is not everything is how it appears to be on the surface. Make sure to hit pause so you have time to work through your list of movies and lessons. Next, we're going to reflect a little bit deeper. I know this might seem hard or even impossible given the scope of movies, but it is 100% possible. I want you to take a look at your list and think of what is at least one theme or lesson that all of your movies have in common. Make sure to hit pause so you can get through this activity. I would imagine that some of your themes that you wrote down are on this list, right? These are really popular themes throughout most of our films. Some examples are never giving up, pursuing what makes you happy, and the value or the power of relationships. I also imagine that you've seen at least one or two of these movies. Can you apply any of your themes or the ones we just reviewed to these movies? Even though these movies and the movies on your list are so diverse, you still can. Kind of crazy, right? For example, let's take a quick look at Mean Girls and Shrek. What could these possibly have in common? But if you really take a deeper look into a theme, I'd argue that a central one between both is not letting others stop you from being who you want to be. All of these movies are representative of what Joseph Campbell called the hero's journey. Years of research led Campbell to discover several basic stages that almost every hero quest goes through, no matter what culture the myth is a part of. He calls this common structure the monomyth. Notice how these stages or parts of the cycle are laid out almost like ticks on a clock. There are many, and we are going to watch a short video that helps put all of this into context for you and then discuss and reflect on certain parts of the cycle.
What do Harry Potter, Katniss Everdeen, and Frodo all have in common with the heroes of ancient myths? What if I told you they are all variants of the same hero? Do you believe that? Joseph Campbell did. He studied myths from all over the world and published a book called The Hero with a Thousand Faces, retelling dozens of stories and explaining how each represents the monomyth or hero's journey. So, what is the hero's journey? Think of it as a cycle. The journey begins and ends in the hero's ordinary world, but the quest passes through an unfamiliar, special world. Along the way, there are some key events. Think about your favorite book or movie. Does it follow this pattern? Status quo, that's where we start. 1 o'clock, call to adventure. The hero receives a mysterious message, an invitation, a challenge. 2 o'clock, assistance. The hero needs some help, probably from someone older, wiser. 3 o'clock, departure. The hero crosses the threshold from his normal, safe home and enters the special world and adventure. We're not in Kansas anymore. 4 o'clock, trials. Being a hero is hard work. Our hero solves a riddle, slays a monster, escapes from a trap. 5 o'clock, approach. It's time to face the biggest ordeal, the hero's worst fear. 6 o'clock, crisis. This is the hero's darkest hour. He faces death and possibly even dies, only to be reborn. 7 o'clock, treasure. As a result, the hero claims some treasure, special recognition, or power. 8 o'clock, result. This can vary between stories. Do the monsters bow down before the hero, or do they chase him as he flees from the special world? 9 o'clock, return. After all that adventure, the hero returns to his ordinary world. 10 o'clock, new life. This quest has changed the hero. He has outgrown his old life. 11 o'clock, resolution. All the tangled plot lines get straightened out. 12 o'clock, status quo, but upgraded to a new level. Nothing is quite the same once you're a hero. Many popular books and movies follow this ancient formula pretty closely, but let's see how well The Hunger Games fits the hero's journey template. When does Katniss Everdeen hear a call to adventure that gets the story moving? When her sister's name is called from the lottery. How about assistance? Is anyone going to help her on her adventure? Hey, Mitch. What about departure? Does she leave her ordinary world? She gets on a train to the capital. Okay, so you get the idea. What do you have in common with Harry Potter, Katniss Everdeen, and Frodo? Well, you're human, just like them. The hero's journey myth exists in all human cultures and keeps getting updated because we humans reflect on our world through symbolic stories of our own lives. You leave your comfort zone, have an experience that transforms you, and then you recover and do it again. You don't literally slay dragons or fight Voldemort, but you face problems just as scary. Joseph Campbell said, "In the cave you fear to enter lies the treasure you seek." What is the symbolic cave you fear to enter? Auditions for the school play? Baseball tryouts? Love? Watch for this formula in books, movies, and TV shows you come across. You will certainly see it again, but also be sensitive to it in your own life. Listen for your call to adventure. Accept the challenge. Conquer your fear and claim the treasure you seek. And then do it all over again.
Great video, right? So I want you to think of some examples of a call to adventure or call to action that you might have been presented with so far in your life, even these past few months or past few weeks. Make sure to hit pause so you can write a few ideas out. Next, what are some of the reasons that you might not have accepted that call to adventure or action? Why are you refusing the call? I want you to make sure to hit pause so you have time to complete, and then we'll talk a little more in depth about some stages that will be impactful for you to become aware of. So let's start with exploring the call to action. Do you think we just have one call to action or many in our lives? So think of the call to action as a challenge we're presented with or a new chapter in our life. So absolutely we have multiple. And here's just a few examples. Outside of these bigger picture calls, there are some things also that we're going to face in high school, from getting a job to taking the driver's test to managing our relationships. On the other side of the call is the refusal. So the refusal wasn't explicitly identified in the video, but still really important to our journey. So this can be grounded in our self-doubt, our fear of failure, and just not wanting to break our old habits into becoming a better version of ourselves. Moving on in our journey, it's time to meet the mentor. What is a mentor to you? I want you to write down mentors in your life or examples you've seen. So think of these as teachers, coaches, family members, things like that. To me, when I see this photo and when I think of a mentor, it's someone older, wiser, who has more life experience, who can guide me and offer me direction when I need it, and someone that supports me and pushes me towards my goals, even when it's not easy work. Outside of mentors, we're also going to come across tests, allies, and enemies. I want you to take a moment and write down what you think each means and give examples from your own experiences. So for tests, allies, and enemies. Feel free to pause at any time to get through your writing activities. So what do I mean by tests? Think of these as roadblocks or bumps in the road to your goals. And what are some examples of tests that you might encounter in high school or have already encountered? And I also want you to think, what is the difference between an ally and an enemy? Simply put, an ally is someone who supports you versus an enemy is someone who sabotages and pushes you away from your goals. So what experiences have you had with allies and enemies? And how do you form relationships with people who are allies and are pushing you towards your goals? Taking a look at this graphic again, please take 1 minute to respond to each of the questions below for a total of 5 minutes. Hit pause to work through, starting with where are you at on this journey right now? Doesn't need to be in order, right? Because we go through many cycles of this. And then ending with how do you see this cycle repeating this coming school year? Once you're ready, move on. For your next reflection activity, take some time to think about the series of questions below and write down how these can impact your choices and decision making. And so one example is, who do I want to be? And what are some habits I can start changing now to get closer to becoming that person? Never too early to start. Once again, hit pause, and once you're ready to move on, move on. Before we sign off, I wanted to end our session with some really quick free write questions. What did I learn today? We just went through a ton of information, and I want you to jot down 2 things you didn't know prior to today. What will I do? Well, yes, it's great to learn about this. It's even better to put theory into practice, right? So what's something you can do, as small as it may be, starting today that can get you closer to your goals? And finally, who will I become? If you're interested in learning more about Hero's Journey, I encourage you to do some research on your own, and here are all of the resources we chatted about today. If you have any other information, or if you would like any other information, please reach out to Access ASU at asu.edu, and please connect with us on social media. As always, go Devils!